Alrighty, let's talk about some simple interest. So in general, you earn interest. It could be good interest or bad interest. You earn interest if you give the bank your money and then they're borrowing it from you. Or it could be a bad thing if you're borrowing money from the bank and then you got to pay them back interest, okay? These are usually for larger purchases. In general, if I can talk, the formula is I equals PRT. And the way I remember this is if you think equals, remember the translating word for equals is. So I remember it by saying I is or I am pretty. Right? So I equals PRT. I am pretty. Okay? Every time. I stands for interest. P stands for principal. And in general, that's just the amount borrowed, or leased, or given. Let's just say or given. Okay, so this is going to be a money amount. R stands for rate. And what they're going to do is they're going to give it to us as a percentage. And we have to turn that into a decimal. And we should know how to do that by now, right? We dip. And then T is time. And we always have to make sure that that's in years. All right, so I equals PRT. Example number 1. Let's say they gave us that the principal is $100. The rate is 4%. The time is 2 years. And they want to know, okay, so how much interest? Okay, so we take our I equals PRT. Our principal is in money, so we just go ahead and put 110, or 100, excuse me. My rate, remember, I have to turn that into a decimal, so I dip twice, so that is 0.04. And then my time is in years, so I just plug in 2. Now, lucky for us, we can just grab our good old calculators. So 100 times 2 is 200, and then 2 times, I don't know, it's the end of the day. Let me see. So 100 times 0.04 times 2 is 8. And interest is also money, so $8. Okay, all I did was multiply those 3 numbers together. Let's do a couple more. Let's say this time they say that the principal is $308.99. The rate is 6.7%. The time is 6 months. And they want to know what the interest is. Alrighty, so I equals PRT. My principal is $308.99. My rate, I have to dip. So that is equal to 0.067. And my time, this is where it gets tricky. My time has to be in years. So I got to think to myself, there are 12 months within a year. So 6 over 12, so 6 months is half a year. So that is just equal to 0.5, right? So then I can calculate all that. So in my calculator, I do $308.99 times 0.067 times 0.5. And in general, once again, this is money, so we have to round it to the nearest hundredth, right? Money is always 2 decimal places. So I would get $10.35. All right, let's do a word problem or two. All right. Jules borrowed, and yes, you do need to write this, $500 for 3 years at a simple interest rate of 7%. How much interest will be due at the end of 3 years? And then there's also, well, let's make that the second part of this question. All right, so we say I equals PRT. So now we actually have to find, so remember our information. So the P is our principal, how much was borrowed. So borrowed $500. So my P is 500. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in 500. My rate, remember the rate's always a percentage, so I kind of have to dig through here, and here we go. It's 7%. So I take that 7% and I have to make it into a decimal. So that's 0.07. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it in over here. 0.07. And then my time is always years. So if I go around here, oh, here was my rate. And then my time is here, 3 years. So I'm just going to plug it in. So now I go ahead and I calculate 500 times 0.07 times 3 gives me 105. So my interest is equal to $105. Okay, so how much interest will be due at the end of the 3 years is $105. Now here's the second part question to the one above. It says, how much will Jules have to repay? So you got to think about it. So Jules, she borrowed $300, or excuse me, $500. She borrowed $500. So she's got to give back at least the 500. But remember, the bank gave her the $500 and the interest that was gained on it was 105. So she needs to add in that interest. So she actually owes at the end of the 3 years $605 total. So she owes $605. Let's do one more like that. All right, let's do John. John invested $1,500 into a bank. If the interest rate, if what am I doing? If the interest rate is 5.4%, how much interest will he earn after 6 years? Okay, so then we put I equals PRT. I am Purdy. All right, so then I've got to decide what is what. So this time, John's not borrowing from the bank. Good for him. He is investing. So that is my principal, because principal is always money. So that's $1,500. My rate, so I'm going to go and scan through and see where my percentage is. Because my rate is always a percentage. And sure enough, it's 5.4%. So 5.4%, let's go ahead and do this to the side. We dip twice. So that is 0.054, right? And then my time is always years. So I'm looking through. Let's see what happens. Up, 6 years. There it is. All right, so it has to be in years. So good for me, 6 years. Okay, so let's go ahead and calculate this. 1,500 times 0.054 times 6 gives me $486. Yay! Good for John. That's a pretty good little chunk of change. Now let's say here's the second part of that question. So the first part was just how much interest will he earn. So the second part of that is how much will John have in his account after the 6 years. So John's interest was $486. He started off with the $1,500. So we're just going to go ahead and add in the interest that he made. So John currently has $1,986 in his bank account. Go, John. Alrighty, here are your practice problems. I just have you finding the interest in the table. We are going to work with lots of word problems in class tomorrow. So the only word problem, I believe, is the first one. Yes. All right.